John Rizvi, he's the known as the patent professor. John, we spoke last week as well. Welcome back to the program.
Yeah, always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. And this week it is Starbucks and their fruitless fruity drinks, which, this is another one of those cases of somebody suing, thinking that they might have a payday. Or am I wrong?
Well, you know what? All of these cases, and there's lots of them, and we can talk about however number you want. There's so many. They all turn on what would the reasonable consumer think? Like, what would the reasonable person really think? And some classic examples, like you hear French fries. Would the reasonable consumer expect them to come from Paris? Like, is that reasonable? A hot dog, is it reasonable to think that it's dog meat? Those are some crazy examples, but that's essentially what the courts have to look at is what's reasonable. In 2014, the Nissan Frontier lost a false advertising lawsuit because their trucks are not able to pull the amount of stuff that's shown in the commercials. And apparently the court thought that the reasonable consumer thought that trucks can really, drive up a vertical wall or whatever the crazy things those commercials show. In this case, getting back to Starbucks, the drink is called a mango dragon fruit lemonade. Mm-hmm. And would the reasonable consumer expect a drink with that name to have mango in it or have dragon fruit in it? So it's not as far-fetched as French fries or hot dogs or whatever some of these other examples. But it is a question, and the court did not dismiss the case. Starbucks asked for the case to be dismissed, and the court said that, well, they're not going to dismiss it because it's not beyond crazy for a consumer to expect a drink with a fruit name in it to actually have that fruit in the drink.
And I'm guessing that these didn't have those fruits. Let's see, they had several different flavors: mango dragon fruit, they had mango dragon fruit lemonade, they had pineapple passion fruit lemonade, strawberry acai, I think that's how you say that, and strawberry acai lemonade. So, to me, I don't believe anything I read anymore, and so the first thing I always do is look at labels, which I expect everybody else to do, but not everybody else is going to do that. So I wonder if you may not be aware of whether or not in the fine print somewhere it said, does not contain, on their advertising, doesn't contain fruit juices or contains less than 1% or something like that. Are you aware if it had that fine print?
Yeah, I'm not aware if it does or not, but essentially there's this myth that companies can do anything and get away with it if they put things in the fine print. Mm-hmm. But if it's not reasonable to expect that fine print to actually be read, then that doesn't necessarily protect a company. In this case, it's gonna turn on whether these fruit names are viewed by consumers as fruit names or if they're viewed as flavors. And vanilla is an example. Like, vanilla's become one of these things that consumers don't necessarily think that it is the vanilla bean extract. Sometimes they think vanilla is just a flavor, like chocolate. Chocolate may not necessarily anymore indicate that it has real chocolate. If you go to get an ice cream, and if it's like chocolate or vanilla, and if it doesn't contain any actual real chocolate, consumers might be okay, because perhaps chocolate to them just means that's the chocolate flavor, like vanilla is a flavor. The question is mango viewed by most? It all comes down to what do most consumers think when they hear the term mango in a drink name? Do they think that's a flavor, or do they think, oh, I'm getting some health benefit because it has mango? And that was a case with like ginger ale, and a lot of the lawsuits brought consumers are claiming that they drank the beverage because ginger has certain health benefits. So they didn't think ginger was a flavor. They thought that the drink included actual ginger in it.
So, and I know a lot of people who will drink ginger ale if they have an upset stomach, and it makes them feel better. And I don't know if they know if it's got ginger in it or not. And when I go to McDonald's, if I, on the rare occasion that I will get a vanilla shake, I don't really care if there's vanilla in it. It tastes like vanilla to me. I'm sure it's loaded with fat and sugar, which is why I don't do it all that often. But, it tastes like a vanilla shake to me. I've never thought about suing McDonald's, as to whether or not they have vanilla in it. But I guess there's some people out there who can. And then I guess it's a legit arena to do that.
It is, and that's why it's what does the reasonable consumer, what's reasonable for a consumer to expect,
right?
And that's a different line of cases where it's not really ingredients. We're not talking about these, but this is the look of a product. Like you'll see product pictures, and there's like steam coming out of them. It's like gorgeous, right? Like huge burgers, huge meat patties, salad, right, tomatoes, and when you actually get the meal, it doesn't look like the picture. There's been lawsuits like that. Taco Bell was sued because the Mexican pizzas on their posters, right, and their advertising don't look like what you actually get when you open the wrapper, and they claim it was
right,
false advertising. Again, that comes down to what would the reasonable consumer expect.
Right, and I see one here. Did somebody really sue Red Bull because they thought it gave them wings?
They did. They did sue Red Bull. It's kind of a myth that it's because they thought they would get wings. The claim was that they believed that it had a lot of energy and
right,
like certain benefits. They would have increased concentration. It kind of became known as the lawsuit that Red Bull didn't help them grow wings. Surprisingly, Red Bull, to make it clear that their slogan "gives you wings" was not it's supposed to be a metaphor. Like for anybody that doesn't get it, that thinks they're eventually going to grow wings. To make it 100% clear that it's a metaphor, they added 3 I's in the word wings. So it's Red Bull gives you wings, WIIIINGS, so that it's now a nonsensical word, and it helps them in defending themselves against these claims, because they'll say, well, what's a wing with
right,
3 eyes in it? It's a whimsical metaphor that we came up with. So it's, in a sense, some of these are sad situations where companies have to resort to things like that, so that to avoid lawsuits.
It's crazy. It's crazy. John Rizvi, again, the patent professor. You can find him at thepatentprofessor.com. Thank you for your insight, and thank you for reminding me that I'm not going to get real wings when I drink a Red Bull. I do appreciate it. All right, buddy. Good to talk to you. We'll do it again. You bet.